Hello, everyone. Richard Wilson coming to you from Hawaii. I'm at a tax investment conference here, and inside the room, I'm talking with many of my clients. One of them is a ultra wealthy family office manager, and has been speaking with a lot of my clients today and this week about what it means if Trump, or now that Trump is going to become the next president, what that means. So I wanted to record the short video. I'm not a political advisor. I'm not a political expert. I'm also not an economist. I also have not listened to every word that Trump has said, just like nobody else has really. So I don't pretend to be an expert at any of those things. But what I want to convey here is what I'm hearing from all of the family offices, the investors, and the founders within our network. In other words, this is what 80% of all the investors I talk to are thinking is going to happen now that Trump has been voted in to be our next president of the United States. I'm not reading from notes here, but these are like the top 15 or so impacts that I hear over and over again. Doesn't mean they're true or that they're going to happen, but I just want to share this. So first, on things that are probably going to be going better, the general consensus is cannabis, psychedelics, oil and gas, energy, auto manufacturing, U.S.-based manufacturing in general. Founders, business owners will be probably doing better with less taxes. They can invest more in their business, invest more in the economy. I think that real estate is going to improve and get better in terms of real estate health and real estate, volatility and danger of real estate values collapsing, because I think we're going to see an economic boom from what Trump is going to do. Other areas I think that will go down or be damaged a bit by this. I think if they lay off half of federal employees, or 25% or 80%, who knows, they'll probably give them 2-year severance packages, is what I've heard Elon say. But how will that impact the economy and their spending when they're spending on a severance package, right? That could have an impact on the economy. There's some concern that the strategy of threatening other countries who don't deal with us in a way that Trump thinks is a good bargain for us, and using tariffs to negotiate and actually showing that he wasn't bluffing and putting those tariffs in place in some cases, may lead to further inflation. There is hope and talk among many of the investors that we will no longer feel like we're on a path to bankrupting ourselves with outlandish spending. One point Elon brought up that I've had 3 different investors bring up to me is the fact that the U.S. government has over 400 federal agencies. We've only been around as a country for 200 and some years. So every year we've created 2 new government agencies, and Elon likes to call them brake pedals. And he says all of government's function right now is essentially telling you, don't do that. Get a permit first. You're not allowed to do that. That's regulated. That has a paperwork process. And they're a bunch of brake pedals. So Elon says we should remove some of those brake pedals and put into place gas pedals. So I think that's one key point that has come up with several investors about spurring growth and excitement and opportunity. And I think that makes it a better environment for the American dream. There can be more entrepreneurial opportunity, which means more employment, more jobs in the United States, which should mean a higher quality of life. As AI replaces people in the workplace, and also as we potentially lay off 25 or 50 or 70% of government employees, I mean, how do we treat them with empathy and compassion? And, how do we solve that problem? I don't know if there are great answers to that have been well thought through. I do think that big pharma, big food companies are going to have to change what they're doing and maybe sell us stuff like they sell to people in Europe with 8 ingredients that you can actually pronounce the words of, instead of thousands of chemicals in our food that are poisoning and causing us cancer. I think one thing that's going to go down is people's weight if there's healthy ingredients in our food. I do think that big pharma and big food will be not attacked, but definitely scrutinized heavily, as they should be if it's stuff going into our bodies. But the last statistic I saw was that 72% of Americans are overweight and 42% are obese, and those numbers are going up. If we don't change things, it'll be 80% overweight, 50% obese. Is Trump and JFK Jr.'s plans the magic pill that's going to do all that for us? Don't know. Not a health expert or a doctor. But I do think that having tons of chemicals and artificial things in our food is probably not a healthy thing. And being obese is definitely not a healthy thing. So these are some of the things that come up most often with the investors I speak with. Free speech, censorship was another one. They were afraid that we're losing our ability to speak the potential truth or explore the potential truth, and that the only thing that's not considered disinformation is something mandated from the government. That scared many founders that I spoke to, and is why they switched to voting for Trump. And the final thing I would say is that there's many Republicans that did not feel comfortable voting for Trump because the issues at stake. They felt like they either had to this time, or because of some of the actions of Trump that they feel are disrespectful towards women, or just not the type of person that they would want to be backing morally. Elon getting involved and his principle-based approach and his innovative approach to doing business and a successful track record was enough of an impact, along with the high stakes issues, that people voted Republican who had never voted Republican before. And people who are not comfortable voting for Trump realized that they're really voting for Elon making America healthy again, and for their own ability to have free speech and speak the truth, et cetera. So those are things that have come up most often. Again, not a political advisor. We've got members of our club and clients and team members. They're Democrats and Republicans and family members on both sides, and 100% respect for people on both sides. As an investor club, we're not here to tell you how to think about politics or how to vote. But I do think we need to think through, as business owners, founders, and investors, what are the next stage impacts? What do we do to adjust our businesses? How is this going to affect different industries? How does this affect our portfolio and our business holdings? And how do we stay a few steps ahead of the herd on how we position ourselves now going forward with Trump to be president? So just want to share the thoughts on what I'm hearing. Probably similar things to you're hearing, but I've been getting some text messages from people who feel, if they haven't been to events lately and they don't have a broad network of investors or founders, just kind of wondering what we're hearing through the grapevine and what we think is going to happen now, whether things are going to get better or worse, and what areas will go better or worse potentially moving forward. So hope this is helpful, and hope I will see you at one of our investor masterminds or summits soon. Take care.